Good morning from Tijuana. I'm trying to channel the Good Morning Vietnam from Robin Williams, but it doesn't quite go with my podcast. Let's get naked about mental health. But that's what this video is about. I had another conversation with a family member, and I'm just hearing a lecture. I'm just like, yeah, okay, yep. Okay, yep, I screwed up. Yep. But the thing about it though is that I'm now exactly 7 weeks with a broken ankle. And in episode 14 of my podcast, I talk about realization that I had about how having a broken ankle and depression are very similar, but the perception of the two are very different. It's kind of interesting because with a broken ankle, with the cast around my ankle, I got everyone. They're coming to help me. Can I go to the store for you? Can I pick you something up? Can I clean your apartment? Can I do this, that, or the other thing? And I'm just like, yeah, sure, just help me out, and I'm gonna do as much as I can. But no one's telling me to just like suck it up and just get it done. Whereas the depression, it's just like the broken ankle. I mean, it really is. But I talk about it in the podcast. But with the depression, people don't understand that. They can understand the cast, and they can understand me sitting there with the cast under doctor's orders to not do nothing. But with the depression, they don't understand that. They perceive that as something else. They perceive it as just me being a piece of shit, not getting stuff done. And I'm just like, so after the conversation, I recorded a movie for episode 16, which is coming up, and I'm going to be re-recording it because it didn't quite come out the way that I wanted it to. But that's going to be at episode 16, coming out on Tuesday, and it's going to be my story. And I don't blame people for not understanding. That's why I do the podcast. I try to get people to understand. It's for people who are struggling with depression and other mental health issues. And it's also for the loved ones of people struggling so that they can get a better understanding. It's like I went through a bad period. I mean, it was really bad. I mean, I was planning on committing suicide. So the fact that I'm not, to me, is an accomplishment. It's like, it's a big accomplishment. But just when I talk to family members in particular about it, it's sort of like I just climbed Mount Everest or walked through Death Valley in the middle of the summertime, and I made this huge accomplishment. And they look at me and they're like, you were wearing the wrong shoes. I'm just like, okay, I was wearing the wrong, I was definitely wearing the wrong shoes, but let's just move on from here. So that's what's going to be my next episode, episode 16. You can find a link. I'm doing a link tree now, so I'm going to try to get that into there. But I'm in Tijuana, 7 weeks in. I got another 13 more days left, or no, less. I got 12 more days left before the cast comes off, and then 2 weeks of a boot and crutches. Then I can start going back to normal. But I'm feeling good. I'm doing good. And my thing to family and friends is that if you don't understand it, I understand that. Listen to the podcast because it really explains a lot about everything. And like, why is water wet? Or it would be like me talking to a nuclear physicist and talking about nuclear physics. I don't understand nuclear physics, but it's like, yeah, I think that if you do this and this, and he's just looking at me like, yeah, whatever. But the whole thing though is that, please, if you can't be a part of the solution, don't be a part of the problem. Because what I get from a lot of people is that I'm already feeling like a piece of shit. I really am. I mean, so when I'm hearing that reflected in family and loved ones, it's like they're pushing me further under. It's like I'm coming up and they're pushing me under. So it's like, don't do that. I mean, wish me luck and don't lecture me. It's like, yeah, I know I screwed up. I know what I got to do. But it's like, they're acting like I've never worked a day in my life. I don't understand that. I own my own business for 15 years. I was a leader and educator in my industry. I formed a national association, which is now global. I mean, I did that. And you don't do that without certain skills. And they're acting like I've never worked a day in my life. Yeah, I got to take steps, and yeah, I'm making missteps and I'm making mistakes, but I'm getting there, and I'm concentrating on the mental health aspects now so I can do things right now. So yeah, just if you can't be a part of the solution, don't be a part of the problem. If you can't be a part of my rooting section, I understand that because you don't understand me. Just don't be like a Philadelphia fan. which my family is from, because I don't need that right now. So anyway, I just wanted to make this quick video in the morning. I meant to make it yesterday, but I had the flu, so I was down even more. But got up, felt good, wanted to make this video, post it, and start getting ready for episode 16 on Tuesday. I post first thing in the morning. I recorded on Monday night, posted on Tuesday morning, and try to get it out. Like I said, I did the linked things somewhere or another, the link tree, which will bring you right to my various web pages and stuff like that. But have a good day. Good morning, buenos dias, and let's see how the day rolls out for me with my broken ankle. I'll be doing more of what I have been doing, sitting on my ass. And I'm gonna start working on that movie, which I'm gonna channel Dennis Leary. Should be interesting. Have a good one, everyone. Good evening. Due to reasons beyond our control, the part of Christopher Gajewski will be played by Christopher Gajewski. The part of the enthusiast, hopefully, will not be played by the enthusiast, but she'll be getting into things probably. Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Let's Get Naked About Mental Health. In tonight's episode, the not-so-comedy routine, I just thought, well, it evolved because it was supposed to be a comedy routine based upon Dennis Leary's 1991 No Cure for Cancer. Then I watched it again and had some conversations, and I did a couple other things, and it all evolved in my head. Like different pieces came together in my head, and I'm like, yeah, so what you already saw, that was my homage to Dennis Leary. This is not going to be that. Although I do think that there are some pretty funny parts about this, if you look at it the right way. Because I was just talking to a cousin of mine, and we're talking and we're chatting, and I bring something up and I joke about it. And he's like, don't joke about that. And I'm like, why not? It's funny. And to me it was, because I'm looking at it the right way. And so this is all about that. So I just thought that, and one of the hashtags that I include with my videos now is keep talking. And I just added a new hashtag based upon the events of the last couple weeks, start listening, because a lot of people don't. And I just want to say up front that I'm okay with that, because everyone has their own lives. They're all going through their own personal stuff. So this isn't for everybody. This is just for people who truly want to understand the struggles of their loved ones and people struggling. If you don't fit into that category, I completely understand. I mean, there's stuff that I don't want to listen to. I mean, there's tons of podcasts out there where I'm just like,
Yeah. So what episode 16 is, the non-comedy routine, is about where I'm at, where I was, and where I'm hoping to get to. So let's get into it. I'm not going to do my normal thing because since this is a personal story, I really don't have to remind everyone that I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or any kind of professional with an ist at the end of their title. I'm just a guy who has been there. But I will say, as I say in every episode, is if you are in crisis, reach out to a professional. Dial 988. It'll put you in touch with a crisis counselor instantly. So let's get into episode 16. So the thing I was joking around about my cousin about is that I had planned on killing myself. And it was a good plan. It was a solid plan. It was probably the best plan I had come up with ever. Then when I didn't go through with it, I was really, really screwed. When you are planning on killing yourself and you plan it as well as I did, and then when you don't follow through with it, you're really screwed. So there's that. And then there's a couple other things that I discussed with an actual therapist when he interviewed me for my book, because he knew about things. And I mean, there was just a couple of funny parts. Like we're talking about depression and suicide, suicide awareness and boundaries and all these pretty deep issues. Like we're in the deep end of the pool doing laps. And there were certain things that I just found hilarious. Like he's asking me about boundaries. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. And this whole life thing, I'm still trying to figure it out. But let's do what my editor hates me doing. I jumped in. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning. It's not the beginning, but it's a beginning. So it's back in about 3-4 years ago, and the depression really started to hit me hard. Just started just like kicking the shit out of me. My marriage was already over. We just hadn't admitted it to each other yet. My business partnership had been over for years, and I just hadn't really come to that realization to get the hell out yet. But it's all just kicking the shit out of me. And then my lack of boundaries and all these other things just led to just this deep exhaustion. I was tired. I was exhausted beyond anything I had ever encountered. And then I started to do things like I started to like reach out for help because I knew that the depression was really kicking the shit out of me. The first person I started with was my therapist and my psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph, who was fantastic, and she felt that I had become resistant to my Zoloft. So she switched me to this new medication, which helped a bit. And then she assured me that it was just, and then I put these things in motion. Because at the beginning of 2019, I had finally had enough of everything. I went to my business partner and said, look, I'm working these insane hours. I can't do it anymore. I need help. And he ignored me. So I put things in motion to sell the lab. There was an employee that wanted to buy, so I put things in motion to sell him my half of the lab. At about the same time, I went to my wife and said, look, this is what's happening. I'm putting things in motion to sell the lab, but I'm going to need some financial help because I got to get through the rest of this year. And she looked at me and said, why should I help a failing business? And then she went on vacation. And that was really the kicker. She went on 2 vacations. So when she came back from vacation, I asked both my business partner and my life partner for a divorce. I have to say my life partner took it far better than my business partner. She didn't talk to me for 3 days and then came back and said, you're right. And then it was very amicable. Like we lived together for the next 10 months. We still slept in the same bed for the next 6 months. My business partner he just sulked and stopped talking to me. So I was just, okay, fine. But that's when the plan started to evolve. Because I'm just exhausted. I'm not talking to anybody because I don't want the arguments. And no one was really listening anyway. So, and that's a part of everything about the start listening thing, because people want to know, how do I help a loved one that's struggling? And Leo Flowers and I, we spoke about it. And when you're in a depression, you approach people about it, and it's an opportunity. But then if we don't feel like that someone is listening, that just makes us withdraw more. And I don't think anyone's listening. So that's a part of the reason of this podcast. But so I put things in motion to end my life. I mean, it was a good plan. I mean, I was going to sell my business, sell the house, have this pile of cash, tons of credit, and I was going to go adventuring. I was going to have one last big adventure. The plan was, my family had a plan to go to Europe, and you might get little hints here because the plan was to go in April of 2020. We would spend 10 days on our own bus, where I would end up in bodies of water because that's what happens when I'm around family. Then after that, I would send some of my luggage back with the family, spend a month in an apartment that I had rented in Pescara, Italy, then a month in an apartment that I had ready for me and waiting for me on Milos, an island off the coast of Greece. Then I would just go wandering. And when the money ran out, or my back ran out, or something ran out, when I finally I was so exhausted, I was on E already. So when I got completely out, I would find some nice quiet place to kill myself. Just do it in a way that it wouldn't bother people, really, because I had been on the other end, had to clean up. It's not fun. So, but that was the plan, and it was a good plan. And then so I put all this in motion, and after we had the house up for sale, me and my wife, it wasn't selling. So I finally just gave her the money and signed for a new house. And my friends, and I gave her everything that she wanted because I didn't care. I mean, my friends and my family are flipping out on me because they're like, you could get more, and you need to get a lawyer and everything like that. And what I was actually telling them is that I just don't feel like arguing about anything. But the truth of the matter is that I wasn't arguing with my wife. We weren't arguing about anything. I was just giving it all to her. The truth was, I didn't feel like arguing with them because they didn't know what the plan was. And the plan was to kill myself. What the hell do you need? I mean, once I killed myself, the new house would have transferred to her anyway. So it didn't matter. So I let her take everything that she wanted. And then then I gave away everything else. I mean, I kept a few mementos that I wanted packed away. And then I just gave away everything. And people were pissed. But then there were a lot of people that made out like bandits on it because I was just giving away everything. I didn't care. And then, as you can imagine, this was all taking place at the end of 2019. My wife moved into her new house, I think, in February of 2020 because I'm getting ready for that. I'm getting ready for the trip to Poland and to continue on. And then COVID hit, and COVID just screwed me because I had helped her move into her new house, given her everything, and I'm sitting in this huge empty house because I didn't need anything. I mean, I just needed enough stuff to get me by until I left for Poland. So I had the TV, the sofa, a chair, and the coffee maker. That was pretty much about it. So excuse me, I did make coffee for this. So I'm there, COVID shuts everything down, and I'm just screwed because I don't know what to do. And then Governor Wolf, in all of his wisdom and glory, made Pennsylvania the only state in the union where you couldn't buy or sell a house. So I'm like doubly, triply, quadruply screwed. So I went to my soon-to-be ex-wife, who I had given everything to, and I asked her for a few things back, like pots, pans, tableware, just stuff that you need in a functioning household that you're a prisoner in. And apparently everything was packed up. So I was like, okay. So I started making trips to Target, spending money that I really didn't want to spend, but I needed things. I needed plates, glasses. I think that's funny. I mean, don't you? I mean, come on. I'd given everything away and I'm out buying everything. But so at the same time that I was starting to buy stuff for my house, so at the same time that I'm buying stuff for my house, I start scavenging for other people, like I'm helping people out. Because COVID it was trauma. I talk about it all in my podcast and in my book, where it was trauma and as my psychiatrist friend said, when people are going through this, they really need to talk to people that are screwed up like us because we know how to get through it better. So I started writing again as well. So I'm scavenging for people. Like everyone thought I was hoarding. Everyone that I was running into at the stores thought I was hoarding because, of course, there was a limit. You could only buy like 2 of each essential items. And so my SUV, my Subaru Outback, would be filled by the end of the morning and then empty by the end of the day because there was a lot of people that were afraid to go to the store because of COVID, or they couldn't get to the store because they were an essential worker in their hours. And the only time that you could really get stuff was in the beginning of the day. So I'd go out, scavenge, drop stuff off at people's houses, take the 10 steps back. And then I just became a scavenger because I didn't give a shit about COVID. I mean, seriously, I mean, if it killed me, it would save me the trouble of writing the eventual letter or something else, or there was a reason, I don't know, but I just didn't give a shit. And then a funny part of it is I became a bootlegger as well. Because again, Governor Wolf, in all of his wisdom and glory, left the beer stores open, but he closed all the state liquor stores. And my people needed their liquor. And the house that I had helped my wife buy was in Delaware. I live right next to the state line. And for the first time in history, Delaware was cracking down on Pennsylvanians coming in and buying tax-free liquor because they wanted to stop the spread of COVID. So, but I had an in. So I kept my papers for my new house on the car, and I went to liquor stores. I barely drink, so all my friends thought that was hilarious because Captain Morgan became my co-pilot. I'd take orders. My car was being filled with vodka and rum and wine and everything else that you can imagine, and I included that on my scavenging. But I started writing again. And that was something that I had left behind a long time ago. I thought that was just a part of me that was just dead. But it started to revive, and I started to write again. But I still had the plan because, like I said, I was just exhausted. I was just tired. And a part of what the depression is it's warped reality. And I justified everything. And my justification was I had a good run. I mean, I really had. I mean, friends had mentioned that I lived in 10 years what other people do in 1. Another friend had just recently mentioned that I lived in half my life what other people can hope to do in 4 lives. I mean, I had traveled to other countries. I had been on some fantastic vacations and adventures, and I had done things. I had owned my own business and done this, that, and the other thing. So I was just like, it was a good run. I don't feel like dealing with this no more. This is the best option for me, because that's what depression does, is that it makes it not an unrealistic option, but the only option. So I was like, okay. So I'm there at night, stuck in the house, in this empty house, huge empty house. And I started to read again. And one of the books that I read was Travels with Charlie by John Steinbeck, about his 1960 tour of the United States. And so I came up with another plan. See, all my plans tend to go to shit somehow or another. But instead of doing the European adventure, I'd travel through all 50 states. It was something that I always wanted to do. And it just like one last adventure, there'd be some debauchery involved, but it was also a way for me to continue writing because I wanted to reach out to people and show them glimpses beyond the trauma, beyond the COVID hibernation. It's all in my book and my columns. And so I did the website and got that going. And Governor Wolf, in all of his wisdom and glory, finally lifted the ban on buying and selling houses. And I did something else that was stupid. I took the first offer that I was given. I didn't care. Just people don't seem to understand that. I was planning on killing myself. So what the hell do I care that I'm selling the house for the same amount that I bought it for? I was getting some money. And then in July, I set out. I had started the adventure before the house sold. I had done the Northeast. Then in July, closing date, handed over the keys, had all my belongings in my Subaru Outback, and just set out. So I did this 152-day tour of America where I hit all 50 states, close to 40,000 miles, and it's all in the book. And I ended up in Hawaii where I didn't kill myself because something had happened out there. I didn't find hope, but I found pieces that had been missing in my life that could lead to hope, that could lead to something else. And then so I got back from Hawaii where I had flown out in Seattle. I had flown out from Seattle. I returned to Seattle and then I'm there and I'm wondering what the hell to do with myself because I was coming close to being out of cash, out of credit, and hadn't killed myself. So, and I had to start adulting again. And also I knew something was going to happen. I knew that the depression was going to catch up to me because see, like when I was out on the road, it couldn't keep up with me. I always say that no matter how far you run, no matter where you go, your problems are still going to be there. But if you're in motion, they can't keep up with you. But I knew sooner or later I'd be out of motion. So the depression really started to kick in. Then I did something else that was really stupid. I stopped taking my meds. For one thing, the new medication I was on, Vibrid, it was super expensive. And I was no longer on the insurance, so I had to pay this fee that was, I mean, it's a new medication. And then also, I just didn't feel like the meds were working. I'm taking them religiously every day, and the depression is getting worse and worse and worse. So I was just like, they're not working. I'm going to stop. So I did do this. So I gradually went down on them and was gradually off of them, gradually ended up outside of Austin, where I moved in where I rented a house about a block away from some friends of mine. And it was like in that cartoon, which actually happened to me on January 4th, 1987. And I was in an Amtrak accident but in the cartoon, the one character slams into a door and then all the other characters slam into them and they're flattened out. And that's what happened. I had stopped running. I had settled down in Texas, completely screwed. My money's running out. My credit is running out. I just rented a house. I got to start figuring things out again. I had found the pieces, but I hadn't even started to put them together again. So I'm sitting in my garage night after night, battling the depression, battling the suicidal thoughts. Like, I'm just thinking, and also it just happened to be, story of my life, but the worst winter that Texas had ever faced in 35 years. It froze for 2 weeks. So I started hearing stories about carbon monoxide poisoning, and I'm like, That's how to do it. So I sat in my garage night after night, well after the freeze, and just considering just turning on the car, sealing up the garage doors, and drifting into a sleep that I don't wake up from. But I'm battling it, and I'm like, no, there's something. Had some really bad nights. Reached out to Rachel again. Thank you very much, dear. Love you very much. And so, but I'm battling it, and I finally turned a corner, and it was a small victory, but it was a victory. But I did have to start adulting again, so I had to borrow money off of someone, turn to other people that pretty much just kicked me in the face. But I was okay with that because I had my friends close by, and I'm staying connected to them. I'm seeing them each week. We did discuss the depression a couple of times, but mostly I just hung out. I was just me. Loved them, loved their family. It got me away from things, got me out into my head. Did start working again, so I'm making money again finally. So I'm starting to like rebuild things. Barely getting by with the money. With the money that I was making, but the whole thing is that I'm battling the depression, and like I say in the forward video, I had made these accomplishments, and everyone that I knew is kind of like looking at me. So it's like I climbed Mount Everest, and people are looking at me like, you wore the wrong shoes. I'm just like, this is why I stopped talking to people. Because you're not listening. They're like, well, talk to us. I mean, there are family members that did reach out and say, hey, if you need to talk anytime, call. But it's hard. It's hard to reach out. And then it's especially hard when you reach out and you get slapped down, when you feel like you're being ignored. Now, I don't know if that's the perception that I had or if it was the reality. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But the perception was that I was being ignored anyway, so why talk about it? And I'm struggling, and I'm getting there. And so things went on for the next year. I did finally lose my job at the place I was working at. I saw it coming. I was a high-paid employee. I had trained my replacements. And then I got offered a job here in Tijuana to help out a buddy of mine. So I said, okay, why the hell not? Because I came here during COVID, and living expenses are very cheap. So he wasn't going to pay me what I wanted. There was no way in hell. But it was more than enough to live here. And I came up with another plan, another good plan, where I was going to stick it out for a year, at least, work, earn the money, start paying off the people that I owe money to. Because when I didn't kill myself, that screwed not only me, but a lot of other people. Like my brother had loaned the lab money at one point, and when they bought the lab, they screwed him out of a good chunk of change. And where I was at the time, I was like, I'll take care of it, Joe. Just don't worry about it. Because I made him the beneficiary of my life insurance policy. So he would have made out like a bandit. I mean, it was a huge life insurance policy. And all my younger cousins, you're welcome. You got screwed too. Because I had left it as a part of my will that y'all were going to get a cut. Because it was a big life insurance policy. There was going to be a party, and my ashes spread on South Point in Hawaii. And everyone was invited on my life insurance policy. But because I didn't follow through, y'all got screwed. Sorry about that. But so I got to start rebuilding. I got to start adulting again. So I start working again, realized that as much as I hated working in the lab in Pennsylvania, I didn't really hate the work. I just hated the environment there. but things didn't work out. When you bring a Brazilian lab owner together with a Philadelphia lab owner, things aren't always going to work. They didn't work out. A couple months go by. I'm figuring things out. I moved into this great apartment complex, and he fires me. To my credit, the whole explanation behind that is I just wanted to get the hell out for the day, because we had a deal where I would only work 8 hours a day because of the money he was paying me. He had just come back from vacation where I had worked 11, 12 hours a day, and he wanted to argue about something, and I just wanted to leave. So I turned around to leave, and he called me a child and fired me, and then I told him to go fuck himself. And to my credit, again, I told him to go fuck himself after he fired me. But we stayed friends, and we still have beers once in a while. It just didn't work out. But so I'm on the way back to home, because I got an apartment close by work to where I could walk to and from. And I just know the depression's going to hit. I just know that the depression is going to swamp me, kill me, beat the shit out of me. And I get home, I do my normal routine, make a cup of coffee. I'm going to take another sip of. And then I'm waiting. So I'm outside smoking, sipping on my coffee, waiting for the depression to hit. And I'm there, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting some more, and it never hit. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, financial stability is a trigger for my depression, and I had just lost it. And I'm waiting for the depression. I'm waiting. And there's some interesting things about Tijuana. One, I couldn't get that really expensive med because it's not available here. So I had to switch to this other med that, with consultation with a friend of mine who's a doctor, I started on that, and I can get it cheap. Another thing is that I'm on this other medication that I had to fight when I stopped taking it in Texas. On the way to Texas, about that time, the drug manufacturers had lost that multi-billion-dollar lawsuit, so they weren't prescribing it anymore. They cut everybody off, and I'm not even on the Valium. I'm on this one called clonazepam, which is sort of like the baby brother of Valium. And I'm fighting with the guy in Texas about it because he's like, this has nothing to do with depression. It's an anti-anxiety med. And I'm like, I know, but when I'm taking it, I'm not suicidal. If I'm not taking it, I am suicidal. So it obviously has something to do with it. And it does. It has to do with getting a good night's sleep, because it doesn't knock me out. It just allows me, for the first time in my life, to shut down my mind so I can just fall asleep. And there's thousands of studies out there that say a good night's sleep directly helps with depression. So I'm fighting with this guy, and he's giving me reason after reason after reason. Let's try this one first. Let's try this one first. So after like the third try, I'm a fairly smart guy, former journalist. So I researched all the reasons he was giving me, and I showed up at his office, and I gave him all my findings, and I said, this is all bullshit. The only reason why you're not prescribing me this is because there was this multi-billion-dollar lawsuit and you cut everyone off. Now give me my goddamn clonazepam. So he gave me the clonazepam. Well, here in Mexico, I don't have to fight with anyone. I don't got to jump through any hoops. I just go to the pharmacy. For the one med, I don't even need a script. I can just buy it over the counter. For the clonazepam, I did need a script, but they have the doctor right there in the pharmacy. So I had a consultation for $25. Then I got a 4-month supply for like $30, I think. So I'm doing pretty good. So I'm in Mexico without a job, but I do have savings still, and I got a safe full of cash because what he was paying me was way more than I needed to. It wasn't a lot, but it was still way more than what I needed to live here. So so I'm like, let's try to switch things around here. Let's start to work on them pieces. And that's what I did. So all my friends and family, they're like, come back up north, come back up north. And I'm just like, why? The money that I have saved, it'll last me about a month up there. Here, I can really stretch it until I can potentially find a remote job or a job or any job. And so that's when I started. I mean, I'm working on my book, started working on this podcast, started sending out resumes every day. I mean, I'm peppering them to find a job and a job. And so I'm starting to live, and I'm really feeling good. I'm feeling better emotionally and mentally than I have in a long, long time. I'm settling in, and I'm like, I'm not going back unless I absolutely have to, because I'm working on things. And yeah, I did screw up. Because I don't know if it's the depression, character flaw, or what have you, but no, I think that it is the depression. I can over-focus on some things, and then when I over-focus on some things, I completely ignore other things. So I'm working on this whole work-life balance thing. From when I first got here, wasn't really able to work on the life part when I started to work for my buddy. So I really started concentrating on the life part, and that was really going well. Like I said, I'm feeling better emotionally and mentally. I'm feeling better emotionally and mentally than I ever have in my life, I think. Completely ignored the work part, completely ignored the whole financial part. Wouldn't even look at my bank account, because at first I didn't have to. I'm just using the cash that I have in my safe. So a month and a half goes by and I run out of that cash finally, and I have to start savings. I have to start to hit my savings. I'm ignoring my bank account. It's just a flaw. Yeah, I screwed up. Hey, come on, give me a break. Like I said, I just climbed Mount Everest. So don't point out the fact that I wasn't wearing the wrong shoes. I was wearing the wrong shoes. But yeah, I screwed up. And then so the month, so August comes around, and then I finally look at my bank account, and I realize I'm screwed again, because I had enough money to pay rent, but that was it. I didn't have enough money for anything else. So I'm wondering what to do. And in the meantime, I had adopted this enthusiast. Long story about that, but she was being abused and neglected next door. Last thing I planned on is adopting a dog, but I guess there was a kinship there. So I adopted her, and so I have her, and I'm wondering what the hell to do. So I reached out to a family member, and they did give me cash. They gave me more than what I needed, so I put another plan into place, and this was a good plan too. And this was actually a really adult kind of plan, because I was going to start adulting again. I was going to move back up to Pennsylvania, where I had a job waiting for me. And so I would get through September, then start transferring my stuff up there on Monday, September 12th. Yep, so Monday, September 12th, I would start transferring my stuff to Texas, then go to Texas, and then transfer everything up to Pennsylvania, where I would start adulting again and start earning an income again. And I was terrified of moving back up to Pennsylvania, because I've been working on things, but was I ready to go back where the center of everything was? But I was ready. I was really ready to. And then the universe decided that she didn't like the plan, I guess. I don't know, but it rained for the first time on Friday, September 9th. It's very dry here. So it hadn't rained since I got here in April, but on Friday, September 9th, it did rain. And so there was a light misty rain in the morning, and they were calling for thunderstorms in the afternoon. So because the enthusiast had been abused and neglected, and I think that she had never been on a leash, I'm taking her for walks in the early morning and late at night because she needs work on the leash. So I'm taking her for the early morning walk in this misty rain. My foot hits this piece of tile coming down a hill, and I fracture my ankle. Oh, it was awful. Like the pain was awful because the people here are just really incredible. I just can't say enough good things because though it was like super early, people are starting to open up their shops, and I pass by these same people every morning, and they all rush to me, and the enthusiast there kept them all back. She has a very good vicious beast act, and they finally threw me a stick, said something in Spanish, which I interpreted as either beat her with the stick so we can help or best of luck. And so I used it to walk back, hobble back. Worst 3 blocks of my life. I'm walking on a broken ankle, hopping, got a half-trained dog on a leash, so she's charging and I'm keeping her back, and I almost gave up a few times. Yeah, I should have called the ambulance, or I should have called somebody, or I should have done something, but I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just in so much freaking pain. The only thing I'm thinking is that I need to make it home. And I finally did make it home, and people rushed out from the apartment complex, and they got me in, and they settled me, and I settled myself. I got in my office chair out front with my broken ankle, and I got it up on the railing, and people are coming up to me and are saying, "That's broken. You really need to go and see a doctor." And I'm lying to myself. I'm like, "Nah, it's just a bad strain. I'll be good in a few days." Hey, it's happened before. Went to urgent care. They charged me a lot of money for a boot and told me to take aspirin. So that's all that it is. So my ankle's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, no, but the truth of the matter was that it had to be a bad sprain. It just had to be, because I just made this deal with a family member. I just borrowed money. I had a job waiting for me. If my ankle was broken, I was screwed again. So it had to just be a sprain. And also, I couldn't ask for help. I don't know how to ask for help. It's hard for me to ask for help. It's very easy for me to give it, hard for me to ask. So someone finally said that they could give me a pair of crutches, but they wouldn't be in until Tuesday. So I just told so I'm doing the ice thing, I'm doing the aspirin thing, and I'm just sitting there waiting, and it's just a bad sprain. It'll get better. My ankle got bigger and bigger and bigger. Couldn't see my toes anymore. It was all one piece. And then Tuesday finally came, used the crutches, took an Uber. That's something else about Mexico. Called up, got instant appointments to get x-rays and to see a specialist. Same day. Went, cost me, for the x-rays and the specialist, $125. But that was another thing that I didn't have the money to have a broken ankle. I had just enough to get me through September and to get back to Pennsylvania. That's all that I had. But so I go see him. It's broken. We had to wait like a week or two for the swelling to go down. I'm in a soft cast. He put me in a hard cast, and I'm still in it. The cast finally comes off, not this Wednesday coming up, but the Wednesday after that, November 2nd, where I'll be in a boot and crutches for 2 weeks, and I can resume normal activities. But I come home, and I'm waiting for the depression to hit again, because now I really don't know what to do. I can't do nothing. And that's what inspired episode 14, because I talk about the realization that because I'm sitting out there with a cast, everyone is coming up to me and everyone wants to help me out. Do you need anything from the store? Do you need any booze? Do you need anything? the people in the apartment complex are coming in and doing my laundry and cleaning my apartment extra, and they're not accepting any tips, which is very weird here in Mexico. So everyone wants to help me out. And with the depression, because I don't have that cast around my head, I guess, it's not perceived the same way. It's the same thing. I can't do nothing, but it's not perceived the same way. So instead of, can I help you? It's like, you wear the wrong shoes and you're being a piece of shit and you're not adulting right and da 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 da. So I'm like, okay. And then I did something else that I was forced to do that really took a lot out of me, because like I said, I don't like asking for help, but I had to. I'm here. I'm stuck in Mexico. I'm stranded. I'm not going anywhere until the end of November. So I started a GoFundMe page, and I tell my story, and I'm saying, look, I'll work. I'll work for it. I can do writing from home. I can do websites. I can do copy. I can do business to business marketing, business to customer marketing. I can help out. I need money. It helped out. I would rather do that walk with a broken ankle a few more times with Danny than to do the GoFundMe page. So I really didn't advertise it all too well, but I did post it a lot. Or I posted it a few times. Got it on my website still, because I got through enough. I got enough to get through October. I still need to figure out November, but I'm getting by. So, but that just crushed me, and the depression did hit again. Then I got snapped back out of it. That was episode 14, or maybe that was episode 15. That was episode 15 actually. So yeah. So I'm just here with the broken ankle, forget completely where the hell I was, and then I'm working on the podcast. And the whole point of the podcast is, it was inspired by the interview that I had with Leo Flowers about the book, where I just wanted to start to reach out to people, start talking, because they need to start talking. And I'm also reaching out to the loved ones of people who are struggling, to help them understand why they're not talking. So that's why my new hashtag is Start Listening. And to family members, to family and friends, I really did mean what I said in the introduction video, where if you can't be a part of the solution, I completely understand. No hard feelings, no lost love, no nothing. Just, I love you. I really do. I understand that you don't understand. I did screw up. I made mistakes. I got to start this whole adulting thing. But don't be a part of the problem either. Don't make me feel like more of a piece of shit than what I already feel like. Like, don't push me down when I'm trying to come up. Just wish me luck and send me on my way. I don't know how else to put that, how else to dream about that. Because the whole thing, and then I get back to the original No Cure for Cancer. I really started thinking about the title of Dennis Leary's routine, because it's no cure for cancer, but there is a cure for cancer. And I've been around loved ones who have battled it. Some have won, some have lost. But it is beatable in some cases, and I saw them win. There is no cure for cancer. I just screwed that up. There is a cure for cancer. There is no cure for depression. I'm looking into other alternative therapies now, because they're coming out with this great stuff. These new treatments for drug-resistant depression, which is what I have. There's magnetic resonance therapy, psychedelics, ECT, and there's a bunch of other things. It's like, I wished I had all my money back and could just find a place to go get counseling for a month, but that's not going to happen unless my book sells really, really well. So when that comes out, I'm going to be bothering you people about that. Buy the goddamn book and share it. But hey, like I said, I don't blame you for not understanding. I don't blame you for blaming me for being in the predicament that I am in, because I own every decision that I made, whether I was depressed or not. I own everything. So I understand, and I hold nothing against no one. I feel nothing but love for everyone. And that's really true. But again, don't be a part of the problem. If you don't want to listen, I'm fine with that. Just don't push me down. Just wish me luck and send me on my way. If you don't want to contribute to the GoFundMe page or the Patreon account or whatever the hell else I got out there now, I'm fine with that too. But there is something simple that you can do that I've been pounding away at this now for months. Because I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing this Friends of Gina. Gentler Insanity is Anonymous. It's important to me. It's the most important thing I think that I've ever done in my life. So because I'm doing something that gives me purpose. It gives me meaning. I'm going to have to get a job, and I plan on getting the job. Then I'm going to have that work-life balance. And right now, the Friends of Gina and the other stuff that I'm doing with the Coffee Chronicles and stuff like that, it's all part and parcel of the same thing. And I tell people it's like having a part-time job that doesn't pay, that I'm trying to make into a full-time job that pays a little bit, because I would really like to be doing this full time. And you can help, because there's links somewhere or another there where it doesn't cost you anything. It just costs you a couple minutes of your time. All that you have to do is follow me. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok, because when I broke my ankle, I graduated from Facebook and Instagram to TikTok. And I'm making videos now, making movies. But the big thing, follow me on YouTube, because that will lead to sponsors. It can lead to advertisements. It can lead to other things that can really help me help other people more, because it's going to spread awareness of my podcast and what I'm doing. And if I can start doing this full time, that would be fantastic, because then I could really focus my journalism background on things and really get moving on stuff. And all that it takes is a couple minutes of your time, just a couple clicks. Hey, it's all going to go to your junk email folder anyway. I don't care, but the clicks count. Clicks are king when it comes to the internet. And I've seen some stupid ass shit out there that gets a lot of clicks. That's what inspired me. I did a GoFundMe thing for something or another, I forget what, because some idiot got invited to a bachelor party that he wasn't supposed to get invited to because no one knew him. But because his name was the same as someone else, he got invited. So he started a GoFundMe page. Next thing you know, he's first class to Vegas, picked up by a limousine, money for everything. And I'm just like, so all these stupid ass videos are getting like these thousands of clicks. And I'm just like, I'm doing something wrong. And one of the things I'm doing wrong is I don't have enough subscribers. So subscribe. Like I said, it's going to go to your junk email folder anyway. It's a very small way to help me out. But anyway, so I'm open to talking. If you have any questions, ask. I got a lot of stuff on the podcast. I'm on this is episode 16, and 1 through 15, TMI, let me tell you, TMI went out the frickin' window, because the whole point of the podcast is to be authentic. And to be authentic, I need to get rid of TMI, which probably isn't helping me with the job hunt, because I can just imagine what employers, if they're clicking through and they're seeing the podcast and stuff and saying, yeah, I'm suicidal and I got issues and they're like, oh yeah, let's find another employee. But It's like, and then don't treat me like I've never worked a day in my life, because I've worked hard I've accomplished a lot. I know how to do this adulting thing. I don't know how to do it well. I don't know how to do it in a healthy way. I'm figuring that out, but I am accomplished. I had my own business. I started a national association, who also kicked me in the face, but that's another story. But so don't treat me like that, because that just makes me withdraw too. I'm just being honest. But I'll be honest with you. Call me. Hey, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. I'll be sitting here doing nothing for another 24 more days. Go around to the store, take my naps, work on my book, send out resumes, work on the podcast, work on more videos. I'm going to hit my stride soon. I'm trying to figure things out and organize things. But that's my story. So the not so comedy routine, I think there are parts in it that are kind of funny. I mean, like I said to my brother and to my younger cousins, y'all got screwed by me not following through. But I got really screwed too, because let me tell you, I don't know what else to say, but that's my story. So as I say at the end of every episode, and you should really look up the meaning of the word, because I mean it entirely in the way that it's meant to be used. Aloha. Have a good one. Love y'all. Keep talking. Start listening. And have a good night. And I'll check this out, and I might do take 4. I still got a few hours left before bed.
I mean it. Click the damn links. Seriously, they're somewhere around here. But click them. Follow me. Subscribe. It'll help me. It's going to go to your junk email folder anyway. What does it matter to you? But for me, it means everything. If I can get 100 subscribers on each of the channels, Friends of Gina and the Chris Chronicles, then I can do so much more. And I can stop bothering you about this. But until I get those 100, I'm going to be bothering you. Click, 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 click. It'll just take you a couple minutes of your time. If you don't have a YouTube account, create one and click. Come on, help a guy out. Show me the love. Come on, show me the love. Anyway, aloha.